It's a first.
What's that?
First time it's ever happened. Fully made up.
Oh, I did notice it. I did not. I know. Look at you, all makeup.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, you know. When you have those Marlboro Man good looks, it doesn't really make it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't really. I don't even notice. Oh, booyah. That's right. The Marlboro Man is back, Paul D. Burmeister. See, it doesn't really matter.
No makeup.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can't tell. There's no difference. So there's really not. I mean, other than you're maybe a hair tanner.
I mean, someone did not do a good job last week in making me up.
Yes.
There's no difference.
Well, no. I mean, they did a good job. Like, you can barely tell, but it's not like you don't need it like I do.
No,
like,
come on.
You don't. No, you don't. You definitely don't. And I heard, like, do we have a picture of something, a Marlboro Man, something like that?
There might be something.
Right? I mean, I don't want to get carried away here or anything like that because... Oh, we're going to show it later. It's not ready yet.
Premature.
Sorry. How did I do that? But here we go. We're going to hit on it all today. I mean, of course, we're going to hit about my quarterback rankings again. We got a ton of questions, you know, from all the homies out there through social media. Paulie's got some things he wants to ask. So we're going to really break that down. I'm going to answer a few questions about some of the down-the-line guys. This is an all-quarterback podcast. Anything that anybody doesn't think I answered the first time around, we'll hit it here, and we'll break it down further. That's no problem. I understand not everybody's going to agree with my rankings, and I'm not saying they're all right. But Paulie B's here.
Big part of the fun.
And just so I start, before I get it, Big Phil, not today. He's coming in Wednesday. He had some daddy daycare duty. Okay?
Doctor's office?
Yeah. My little brother is expecting a baby. Okay. We just found that out last week. Not him specifically, his fiance or his wife.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's big news in our household. They had a little checkup today. Dad had to work with some of my brother's quarterbacks. You know, my brother's got a bunch of quarterbacks in the North Jersey.
Yeah.
Him and my dad do that. So Dad had to do some of his work for him, cover his butt today. Yeah, so we'll get on Wednesday.
Actually, that one time I went down and threw with your dad, your brother Matt was there.
Right.
And like anytime your dad would get like far enough away so he couldn't hear us, Matt would be like, don't let him get too far in your head, man.
Yeah.
You'll never throw the same.
Yeah, right.
He was very good.
Yeah,
it was nice to have him around.
Yeah, don't let him get too technical on you to where you're thinking about everything in the world. Hey, that's part of playing quarterback or anything that takes mechanics. Yeah, you want to take the mechanics, but don't get so into your head that you're worrying about every little thing to where now you lock yourself up and you can't even throw the ball or do certain things like that.
Right.
And Big Phil can do that. There's no doubt.
So as for today, just for context, normally these notes I have in front of me are a page, maybe a page and like half onto another. I have so many questions that came in via Twitter. I knew this was going to happen. It's part of the fun with rolling out your list of top 5 quarterbacks. You know the reactions coming in.
Yep.
People are going to agree. People are going to not agree. And it's going to carry us through another podcast, which is today, us reacting to all the reaction that we got.
Yeah,
so,
cool.
Before I get into these questions, over the weekend, past few weekends, coaches, GMs, your friends in the league reach out, pushback on any one of the guys in general more than the other?
I can't say that I got a whole lot of pushback. You know, I had a few that were like, would you really take Zach Wilson over Trevor Lawrence, right?
Another ranking.
I had a few of that. I had a few that were like, hey, I'm with you with Zach Wilson. I think he's the guy, right? You know, Mac Jones, I got a lot of where would you draft him? Kellen Mond, I got what I thought I was going to get. Oh, we liked Kellen Mond. Well, no, we liked him. We were hoping nobody would really catch on to him. Now, I don't know if they're thinking he's a first-round pick or anything like that, but I know we got a lot of questions about Kellen Mond and all that. And then with the bottom 2 guys, it was more of, hey, you like their talent. Explain to me what you didn't like about their issues and things like that. So overall, it was pretty good feedback. I shared a few things with Pete, too. I had some... You know, a few big-time coaches just give me some nice words of just like, hey, keep being you.
Feels good, right?
Yeah, saw the list, you know, keep being you, don't change anything like that. So that's always cool to hear.
I never got the sense that you were thinking about changing, but it is nice to pile up a lot more hits than misses in the previous drafts.
No doubt.
Right?
No doubt. It helps.
Gives you some conviction.
Yeah, it gives me conviction. My years being around it, you know, I do this for the right reasons. That's where I can live with myself. I'm not here to do any other reasons other than I want to be right. This is what I see. I've been around it a lot. I tried to explain this. Peter King, I know he wrote a little something on Football Morning in America, and he goes, well, how do you deal with, you know, the Twitter hate and all that? He goes, I released your rankings, and he goes, I couldn't get over all the hate that I got on my Twitter page about you.
Right.
And
me too.
You know, I'm sure. And I just said, listen, first off, I don't care.
Right.
Second off, a lot of these people tweeting on it's the Twitter mob. None of them have ever seen a quarterback in the history of their life or an NFL football player in the history of their life. A lot of them have way too much time. They're 30-something years old, living in the basement with mom, and they can do Twitter all day. I can't. I got things to do.
Right.
And I've been coached by some really smart people. And like I always say, my greatest experience is just to see quarterbacks and things like that are catching passes from my father, catching passes from Randall Cunningham and Vinny Testaverde the day before a quarterback challenge because they want to go to the field and work out a little bit. Being at the quarterback challenge and Dan Marino going, hey, Christopher, stand up. And he's throwing me, 20 balls all of a sudden. And now it's Brett Favre the next year. So I've got the catch for Tom Brady at practice when I was in New England there. So I've seen it, I've been there, and I'm not saying you got to agree on me, but you don't have to actually just call me a stupid on Twitter, okay? That's where I'll draw the line. All right.
I've responded to people by saying that, ego is a good thing as long as you have a work ethic and treat people well, and Chris has a lot of ego wrapped up in how he ranks these quarterbacks, as he should, and it's got nothing to do with making or sounding an alarm or getting people to follow you on Twitter. It's 100% has to do with how you see it happen.
Yeah, no doubt. Right.
With that, we saw Zach Wilson ranked number 1. A lot of questions about that one because I haven't seen that anywhere else, Chris. I went out and paid a lot of attention and tried to find somebody else who has him number 1.
Right.
A lot of compliments about him, but I didn't see anybody else had him at the top.
Yeah.
Let's start with @GM118. Start again. @GM18 Lewis. Zach Wilson almost lost his starting job last year. Does the fact that his play improved dramatically this season, playing a weaker than normal BYU schedule due to COVID-19, bother you at all?
No, it does not. Listen, we're going to, first off, I'll hit the competition thing first. I think it's a little overblown. There's too many quarterbacks through time here that have succeeded playing average college competition. Like I said, when you're under pressure, you're under pressure. No, I know it's going to be different in the NFL and all of those type of things, yes. But throwing in the closed quarters and having to still be able to throw the ball accurately or with power, that to me translates to the NFL, okay? All right, throwing into tight windows or coverage, yeah, it's going to be different receiver and better talented DBs. But those are things that are very easily learned. Like, okay, the speed's a little different. I got to lead this guy, 6 inches more than I used to my old receiver at BYU. That I don't look at that. And again, we wouldn't have a lot of the great quarterbacks we got, whether that's Josh Allen, Phil Simms, Terry Bradshaw, Joe Flacco, Big Ben, University of Miami. Whoa, was that competition that special there? No, it was not. So I don't look at that as being a make or break thing. Now, going back to the other thing, he played well the year before. It wasn't great. Then he got hurt a little bit at the end of the football season, too. They opened up the competition. From everything I know about that, it was like, yeah, we opened up the competition. They expected him to win, but they weren't just going to give him a free pass. He got bigger, he got stronger, and then he did all the right things to fight that adversity that I like.
It is.
Let me just say last thing before we go there.
Yeah.
And don't put these college coaches so much on a pedestal like they know what the hell they're doing. I mean, Pittsburgh kept Tyler Palko over Joe Flacco. Georgia kept I can't throw a ball Jake Fromm over Justin Fields. Urban Meyer, or no, not Urban Meyer, Ryan Davey and company, or no, it was Urban Meyer too, right? They chose Dwayne Haskins over Joe Burrow. So don't think just because they are making millions of dollars and they're the head coaches that they always know what the hell they're talking about at every guy, too. We got to take that into account as well.
But it is fair to bring up because it is very unique to have a guy a year ago who had to win his job back with the kind of talent that puts him probably up to the number 2 pick in the draft.
Yep.
Even if the coach, I don't even know the names, even if the coach isn't the best in the country, wouldn't they be able to recognize that kind of talent and say, this guy's starting no matter what, we got to figure it out?
Well, again, I don't know what the overall issue was there. I can't speak to that. And that's where I'm I'm in a little bit of a disadvantage. I wish I could tell you more there. But I can tell you in going back and watching some of the 2019 stuff, there's still throws and plays where I go, there's nobody that throws like this.
Right.
And he's only gotten better. And I don't look at it as, again, I'm not huge into like, oh, let me look back 2 years from now with a growing boy who's becoming a man and improved his game to think, oh, he's going to revert back to what we saw in 2018 or 2019. I just don't look at it that way, or I don't put as much stock into it, I guess, as maybe everybody else. So I guess that's my 2 cents there. But there was still plenty of good, and then he answered those challenges.
He did.
With blue stars, blue ribbons, whatever the hell you want to call them.
Couple of questions here. I'm not going to cite any one person. I'm just going to ask you about it because it's come up quite a bit. You addressed the fact that he had to win his job back, maybe, or to whatever level that's true.
Right.
How about this one, the torn labrum? This comes up a lot.
Yeah.
Does that injury bother you?
It does.
That he had last year.
Yes. I mean, it does, but there's nothing to say it should bother me.
It didn't look like it was bothering him in the film.
That's what I mean. Nor does the results look like it. Oh, you mean the guy with the most explosive arm in the draft? I mean, hey, listen, like I said this, and I said this a lot. Like, I had this conversation a little bit with my dad over the weekend. If you lined up Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson and said, throw the ball absolutely as hard as you can, I bet you Trevor Lawrence could probably throw more miles per hour on it. But I don't know if he can and be consistently accurate and be in all in the weird positions. And, oh, you can't step into this throw. And, oh, you got to jump and get 2 feet off the ground and do all that. I don't think he can throw it as hard as Zach Wilson in those positions, let alone the accuracy. Right. Zach Wilson can continue. Let's just say Trevor Lawrence's fastball, his absolute fastest is 105, right? Let's say Zach Wilson's is 101. Well, Zach Wilson can do all those weird things in those weird positions and still throw 99, 100 and paint corners and do those things. Right. Where Trevor Lawrence, no, there's going to be, and I love this, and this is where there's some improvement that can be had and there's untapped potential. But if you ask him to rip it every time like that, he's going to miss, and it's going to be, whoa, ball outside. Whoa, ball outside. There's a lot of good, don't get me wrong, but I don't see anything on film to make me scared of the Zach Wilson, the labrum thing or anything like that.
I don't think there's a quarterback coach around, NFL or college, that wouldn't sacrifice 5 or 6 miles per hour of speed for better anticipation and better accuracy.
Sure.
Like you brought up.
Right. And I'm not saying, again, Trevor Lawrence is worthy of the number 1 pick. He can do all of those things. Well, all I'm saying is Zach Wilson's special at it from that standpoint. And bottom line is, no, I'm not necessarily concerned about the torn labrum. Not at this age and where he's at and what I saw on film.
Right. Yeah. It does bring up an interesting point about this year's process without a combine, a follow-up combine about the medical, because that would have been addressed in so many different ways.
No
and this
doubt.
year, I mean, how are they going to get okay with that question? I guess they just have to watch his film and say, you know what, it doesn't look like his shoulder hurts too much.
Right. And I would think at some point, they're going to get into some visiting teams, I would imagine. I mean, the rules are getting loosened up here all across the country to where he's going to get into the teams that are serious about him. They're going to get into the doctors they need to get to and figure it out from there.
So here's the money question. This came in a number of different ways, but this one sums it up well. Valley Boys Sports. Chris, be honest. If you're Trent Baalke, GM for the Jaguars, are you really taking Zach Wilson number 1 overall?
I think Zach Wilson is better than Trevor Lawrence. Yes, I do. Trevor Lawrence is certainly the safer pick. I don't know. Trevor Lawrence, would I say, okay, if we had to measure floors, I'll go, his floor is higher than Zach Wilson. Because of his size, that's a great attribute that he has. His ability to throw over people and do things like that. Like, I can't imagine Trevor Lawrence being a bust. Like, I don't. I think it's like as worse as it could get is like, oh, he's a number 11 quarterback in football or the number 12. Now, I don't envision that with Zach Wilson, but okay, with the size and the injuries and things like that, all right, maybe his floor is a hair lower, but I think his ceiling's higher. That's where I get into. I think his ceiling's higher than Trevor Lawrence's. That's different than how I felt as compared to Herbert and Tua last year. Now, and the other aspect that goes into this, is I think the way Urban Meyer is going to run his offense and things like that, I think it's going to be Trevor Lawrence's style. I do. I don't think it's going to be we want a guy to drop back and be Aaron Rodgers and pick you apart because our system's good and we got, we know you can make all the right throws like Mahomes and Josh Allen. No, I think it's going to be more of predicated on a little bit of the quarterback run and wide receiver screens and running back screens and, fake the wide receiver screen and now we throw the go up the sideline. All the things you saw Trevor Lawrence do in college, all I've ever seen Urban Meyer's offenses do throughout time. So I'm expecting him to be the number one pick, okay? But no, I like Zach Wilson. I don't know any other way to say it. But if you made me bet, I would bet you that they take Trevor Lawrence number one.
Let's look at this situation if we can. It's kind of a juxtaposition here, but we're talking about the Jags, but let's try and think of in the abstract too, because I don't want to call any one person out.
Yeah.
How often do you think it happens where a GM, a team is facing a giant pick like this in the draft, and it is a safer pick to take the guy that everybody thinks is going to be awesome? And they all think this. What if this doesn't work out? What if it doesn't work? If Zach Wilson didn't work and they took him, people are probably going to get fired. If Trevor Lawrence doesn't work out, the one they were supposed to take,
no doubt,
it's disappointing.
Safer.
Sets them back, but they probably keep their jobs.
Well, yeah, because they can go, well, everybody had him number one.
That, and I sensed it when I was working all those years covering the draft at NFL Network. Do you think that's a real thing that GMs deal with?
100%. 100%.
That's not just perceived.
No, it's not perceived. There's going to be, if they were even thinking about it, they're going to think, that's going to be one of the first things they're going to think. Wait, if we took Zach Wilson and it didn't work out quite the way, even if he got hurt again, people are going to go, well, he got hurt in college. Why would you do this? This guy right here played major college football. So there's no doubt they're going to think about that.
Safer.
It's safer. That's where it's safer. I understand that. I get that. So, and I do think that Urban Meyer took the job thinking he was going to take this guy all along, right? So that's part of it as well. And we'll see where it goes. Again, I don't know what the overall outlook of Urban Meyer's offense is going to look like, right? They got Darrell Bevell up there. So I would think you're going to see a combination of things Urban's done throughout his career and a little bit of Darrell Bevell and all of that. Now, if it was just going to be purely Darrell Bevell's offense, I would almost go, Zach Wilson's going to fit it better than Trevor Lawrence.
What's Darrell's offense? How are you defining
Darrell's
it?
is like it's West Coast light. He came from Green Bay back in the days with the Favres and the Rodgers. So that's where Zach Wilson and that kind of offense he's going to pick people apart. But I don't think that's what they're going to do. I don't think that's going to be their offense. It's not going to be about we're going to surgically destroy you 5, 10, 15. Oh, Zach Wilson rifled down the middle because he surgically got you all over the 5 and 10 yard passes, and now he aggressively throws a laser down the field and do that. To me, I don't expect to see that in Jacksonville, nor do I think that Trevor Lawrence is nearly as ready to orchestrate or run an offense like that as compared to Zach Wilson. That's where I'll say it's different too.
One more on Zach Wilson. Yeah. And I had this one circled since this morning when I printed this out. This is from @MetroG10. If you are the Jets and they have the second overall pick in the draft, would you trade Deshaun Watson for Zach Wilson? Pardon me. Would you trade for Deshaun Watson or would you draft Zach Wilson?
Right. My heart of hearts, I want to say, take Zach Wilson. You got all these picks. You got a chance to really build something on the offensive side of the ball and have some young receivers and a young offensive line and some we'll see what they do at running back to where they could grow and really form a nucleus and have a special unit, a few years from now. Deshaun Watson with that right there, hey, listen, I know he's awesome, but they're probably going to have to trade other things out the door, too, to do that, which is going to hamstring their ability to complete the full team and all of that as well. So it's a good thought, certainly, but it's all dependent on what's going to be asked, I guess, to get Deshaun Watson. As much as I love Zach Wilson and all that, Deshaun Watson is a top 5 quarterback. It's a proven commodity. We know what he is.
They have real draft capital in New York.
I know. They got all these picks. They certainly can. But just like we've talked about a lot, they got a whole bunch of issues on their roster. I mean, they got one of the biggest off seasons in front of them compared to anybody in football. They need to improve their offensive line. They need a running back. They need receivers. They need a pass rusher. They need corners. They need safeties. I mean, you go through the whole thing. I mean, they need a lot of stuff. So that's where I get into, okay, yeah, I like the Deshaun Watson idea, but what are you going to have to give up for it? And with as many holes as you got to fill, now you get Deshaun Watson and you go, well, crap, we still got a lot of holes to fill, and we just gave away some of our ability to fill them.
One more Jets question.
Yeah.
Would you drop down to 8 if Carolina wanted to come up to 2
Ooh.
and take whatever picks they're going to give you and say, you know what? We'll get our quarterback at 8.
Well, or they can maybe if they decided they want to sit with Sam Darnold and go with that, that's certainly a possibility. Okay, but then who is that quarter? They got to make sure they love that next quarterback if they want to do that. Whoever if they're in love with Mac Jones and do that, okay. I mean, then that makes sense. You know, but I don't know. You're also leaving that opportunity of somebody else to jump you now and maybe get up in there. I understand that thought too, but I'll just say again what I said last week. I just have a hard time thinking, all right, with what you see from Zach Wilson, the offense they're about to run. The new offensive coordinator is Mike LaFleur. His brother is Matt LaFleur, and he has a quarterback that has those Zach Wilson traits in the way he plays as an Aaron Rodgers, and they've lost 6 regular season games in 2 years, okay? And I just look at that and go, man, Zach Wilson's made for that offense. He's made for it. The Shanahan-LaFleur system type thing. And that's where I love it, and that's where if I'm them, I'm running up to the podium.
All right, moving on to Trevor Lawrence, your second-ranked quarterback.
Yeah.
At Frank2782, do any of these QBs remind you of past greats? Trevor Lawrence looks like a mixture of Luck and Peyton.
Yeah, sure. I see the Peyton. I honestly see more Eli than I see Peyton as far as just a pure throwing style. But I see the Peyton thing too. I get it. I don't know if I necessarily see Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck is a much thicker, bigger man that way. A little bit more of a true robotic, motion that never changed. I mean, Andrew Luck, you can look at him in college and the NFL. It was always just raw.
And he's one of those
turn
guys,
the front shoulder. His arm always stayed in the right position. I mean, it never really changed. He was a machine throwing the football.
And you always say size is skill.
Right.
Trevor's big.
Right.
But Andrew Luck, like, you had to be next to him to realize, like, this guy might be 240.
Yeah, right. He
was big as hell.
I think he was. Last time I talked to Andrew, maybe his second year, I was with him and I was going to do a game when I was working at CBS, and he was like 244, 245. It was one of the first things I asked him when he walked in the room. Trevor Lawrence is not as big as Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's 240. Trevor Lawrence, we just saw him at a pro day, and I know he didn't get the lift and he's got the shoulder issues, but it's hard to make me think he's much more than 220, 225. He's right in there, even if he's in his prime. But I do see some of those qualities. I know what they see with the Peyton Manning stuff. There is some similarities there and everything like that. There's a lot to like about Trevor Lawrence. Their offense, what they do, everything like that. Hey, there's a lot of easy plays thrown in there. Definitely. Like we talked about with Zach Wilson, the vice versa is, man, Trevor Lawrence always got to be on the field with the better team and pros, and they could help him out, and people were wide open. So I don't know, is that conducive to the NFL? Are people going to be that open? See, that's where people make too big of a deal of one side, and then they don't check themselves before they wreck themselves on the other side, where I go, well, that's the thing too. Trevor Lawrence, so I can get into games, whether it's Virginia Tech and some other games where they go, hey, Virginia Tech, Miami, they take away the screens and some of the bullshit that Clemson has. And I'm not sitting there going, whoa, he's dicing these teams up. No. But Lawrence, here at the very base, the size, like we talked about, is a skill. His arm is real. And if he could clean up some of the mechanical things, I mean, he definitely could be that guy that could have a top 5, top 8 arm in football. There's no doubt. The other thing I love about it, hey, his throwing, a lot of it's outside the numbers. I'm into that. I mean, anybody can hit the inside slant for 7 yards. If we're still talking about that with the top 5 pick, then me, move on. That's what I loved about his pro day. We didn't waste time with like, whoa, he can throw the swing route to the back. I hope he can. He's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. What I loved about him on film is you do get to see a lot of goes, posts, deep outs from the far hash, double moves up the sideline into holes, all of those things, back shoulder throws. He's very good at that. So, again, I know everyone thinks I'm trying to attack Trevor Lawrence because I made him the number 2 greatest non-professional quarterback quarterback in the whole world. But I love what I see from him. I'm excited about him. I'm not as blown away, like I told you, with his throwing as I was compared to Justin Herbert.
Right.
But his athleticism is greater than. And his ability to extend plays and run is a real threat. And he does bring that to the table. So there's a lot I like about him.
And I like the fact that you went Ice Cube, I think, 1993. Check yourself.
Before you wreck yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Were you 12 years old?
I mean, probably. Was that Ice Cube? I'm not even sure.
I think it was.
Okay, good. I'll doubt you on that one. You're more in the prime of that than me.
Right? Yeah. You were in grade school, still trying to figure out.
Yeah, I was just getting into it, like P. Diddy and Notorious B.I.G.
Pete, that's Ice Cube, right? Pete says correct.
Good.
Okay. Mac Jones. Lot of Mac Jones questions.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
Let's start here. Garnett West. You're usually very high on physical ability, but somehow you give Mac Jones a pass. You had him as your third best quarterback. He makes a parallel to thinking Kirk Cousins is his ceiling.
Right. Well, no, this is better than Kirk Cousins coming out. I studied Kirk Cousins. It was one of my first years really studying it, right?
Yeah.
Because I was out of football and I was starting to get really into this. Kirk Cousins' film is not Mac Jones. Right. It's not. And I would say coming out, Mac Jones' arm is more powerful than Kirk Cousins is right now. There's no doubt. Now, he's right. Listen, I like physical gifts, no doubt about it. But here's what I'll challenge our question here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of physical gifts to like. This is where we're getting into I think the way he looks and things like that, where I go, yeah, okay, he's not like real fast. He's got unbelievable feet like we talked about. It's arguably the best feet in the pocket in the draft. I'm going to give Zach Wilson the edge because he's like a magic man there. But I think second is probably Mac Jones.
His balance is terrific.
Balance, shuffling around, moving, stepping up in the pocket, then shuffling and making a throw. And then, yes, okay, to our question, point, it's not a rocket arm, but it's a real good arm.
It's really good.
It's really good. You're underappreciating it. And, I of course, love guys that can throw lasers like Mahomes and Josh Allen and Rodgers. Who the hell doesn't? But those are few and far between, those guys that come about. Mac Jones, like I said, Joe Burrow was my number one quarterback last year. His arm is every bit as strong as Joe Burrow's. I would actually bet it's stronger. His ability to push the ball down the field more effectively, I think, than Joe Burrow. And I loved Joe Burrow last year. Second, on top of that, playing the position, it's as clean as I've seen since Joe Burrow either. Joe Burrow, that's what blew me away last year. I just went, holy crap, the decisions, the pinpoint throws with these quick decisions, going through the reads and then still diagnosing the other side of the field in a flash and throwing the appropriate ball. Mac Jones does all that. He is an elite thrower of the football. Yep. He's more consistent of a thrower than Trevor Lawrence. He is. Now, he can't throw it as hard. I know it doesn't. But if you took, I really think if you took them out on the field and you started to go, hey, let's start throwing all the routes, right? Okay, I want to throw a 20-yard out route. I want it on the right shoulder. I bet you Mac Jones would hit the right shoulder more and do those type of things. Oh, I want this one to be behind him just a hair. I would bet you Mac Jones can do that too. Trevor, again, because there's a few little mechanical issues, the ball can go certain places. Now, Trevor's going to make a few throws every now and then. You go, whoa, Mac can't throw that 25-yard seam with that kind of pace like that. Right. No way. But it's still really damn good. And it can still be really successful in the NFL, in my opinion.
People bring up quite a bit, and we've kind of laughed about it here. I think you and Florio talked about it. The fact that he doesn't look good in his uniform.
Yeah.
I think it's more that this narrative that he's okay but not great has to do with the fact that Tua had very good numbers last year.
There's no doubt.
And there's just an assumption made. Oh, there's Devontae Smith. There's Jalen Waddle. All the quarterbacks there win and put up great numbers. He's just the next in line.
Yeah.
I would challenge
anybody. Then where are all the other quarterbacks before Tua?
Right.
Why wasn't A.J. McCarron the first pick? He won 2 national championships.
Right.
Why wasn't he the first pick of the draft? Who's the one before that went to the Jets for a little? McElroy. Damn. They never lost. He should be the first pick of the draft, right? Stop with all that. It doesn't mean John Elway was 4-7. Patrick Mahomes was 4-7. It doesn't mean It's about what the quality is there to be had on the field. What's there to be had, what's taken advantage when nothing's there to be had, the play calls. Tua, we were fed the hype forever. Waddle was only there for a few games this year.
Right.
It was just Devontae Smith. Tua had all four, okay? All four, healthy as can be, all right? Did you see what Waddle and Devontae Smith said last weekend? They were asked about who was the better quarterback. They came out, they didn't even like hesitate.
Right. Which was surprising.
Right.
Because usually guys will play it more down the middle because they were both their teammates and probably like them both.
Because they know Mac Jones is throwing, his ability to get the ball to the receivers with pressure around him, the lack of NFL throws that I didn't see with Tua last year. It was a lot of college-y stuff. It was a lot of like, hey, that's cool, but that ain't going to happen in the NFL. Oh, that was a cool scramble against some team that's not as good as you guys. But you're not going to be able to do that in the NFL. They're going to be fast. It's not a legit scramble in the NFL. It's like when I went back to with Johnny Manziel. And Johnny Manziel, everybody was trying to tell me, this is first pick of the draft, second pick of the draft. No, he wasn't a first-round pick. Everybody got excited because he ran around, Alabama at the time, who had no speed on the edge of their team, no fast guys. That is what changed Urban Meyer. And I went, okay, yeah, he did all that. But then when I watched the Florida and LSU game, he couldn't run around for crap because they had NFL defensive ends. And that's where I went, whoa, so wait, the throwing's not first-round elite and the athleticism is not first-round elite. I know it's awesome in college and he can win the Heisman and all that, but that doesn't mean it translates to the NFL. And this game, what I'm getting back to now, is Mac Jones' game translates to the NFL way more than Tua. And the other thing that I'll keep saying, and I said this to a few people like on TV and radio this last week, the way they called the game in general tells me they knew that Mac Jones was the better quarterback than Tua. There was more aggressive play calling, more.
Without a doubt.
It was a different offense in Tua. Tua was a lot of RPOs and screens, and we're going to pick four guys for this one guy and just throw to that guy. And, oh, we've thrown this slant 3 times now. Let's run this slant, go. This guy, they were going, hey, drop back. We'll protect you. We're going to send this guy in a 20-yard post, this guy in a 20-yard out. The backside guy's going to be running a 20-yard in cut, and we want you just to stand in there and get a little pressure, move around, and make the throw. I mean, that to me spoke volumes, too, to think like, ooh, they're calling it a more aggressive down-the-field passing attack with lesser receivers than the year before. And that's where, again, Mac Jones, I know it's not sexy, but damn, I just don't know how you can really – the results are real is what I'm saying. It's not made up by college bullshit or anything like that. Yeah.
I would challenge anybody if they had time just to watch him. And I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, people are going to turn it off and say, okay, he's better than what I gave him credit for at Alabama. I do think it's a legitimate question about how he moves in the pocket. Can, 3rd down and 6, is he one of these guys who can get you 7 yards? Not as well as a lot of these others that we see right now. How much does that bother you?
3rd down and 6, I think he could go scramble and get it. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I've seen enough to think that is capable, Now,
so even though I'm on board with you with all the Mac Jones stuff, I do say, you know what? I don't know if you want somebody who can really run and move around.
Well, it's not really run. I'm just saying, can Mac Jones 3rd and 6 go, let me look at the out to the left. Oh, let me look at the in cut in the middle. Oh, let me look at the other in cut to the right. Oh, nothing's there. Oh, look, the Red Sea parted and I can maybe get 7 yards. He can do that. It's not like that slow to where I'm like, whoa, let alone I see so many times where he's running up in the pocket and he's like, oh, I might run. And then he realizes, whoa, they're closing in the second level, the linebackers, and he throws a dart right, through their ear hole there to get a 15 or 20-yard completion too. So, again, we had the question. I am all about, yes, elite abilities and skills. Anybody that's listening to me is doing all that. I'd be the first to go, whoa, I don't think this guy's got it. This is scary. I mean, are you kidding me? He's some slow, square white guy, right? With not a huge, powerful arm. Okay, no, that's not the case. He's a guy that doesn't look great in his uniform, that has unbelievable feet, bounces around. He got a tennis background. So all of that shows on the field, his ability to move his feet and do that. And then he's a high-level thrower. He is. And that's where, again, if you're thinking about quarterback movement all the time, no, maybe he's not your guy. But if you're really in a system where, hey, we value the drop-back pass game and a guy that can move within the pocket and make throws there, he's still damn special that way.
We're moments away from getting into Kellen Mond, who you have as your number 4 quarterback.
Yeah.
But one more about Mac Jones as
Right.
they kind of go together as Mac's at 3. Isaac Bonilla asks, what elite traits does Mac Jones have over Kellen Mond?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing would be feel in the pocket. My only negative, and we'll start to dive into Kellen Mond here, is I wish he would move and play backyard football a little bit more within the pocket. But after that, that's about it. His arm's not as powerful as Mond. He's not as athletic. The release is comparable. I would say Mac Jones has shown me the ability to throw the ball from, different ways under pressure. Oh, I got to get real tight and loft it. Oh, I got to get real tight and drive the football. He's shown me the ability to do more that way than Kellen Mond. The pure raw ability, though, no, Mond has more. Mond looks like a guy to me that could run low 4.5s in the 40. And then his arm is explosive. The ball absolutely explodes off of his hands, let alone, I'm not going to say he's good at reading things quite yet as Mac Jones, but it's up there. I'm going to go, Zach Wilson and Mac Jones are ready to read and do all that stuff the NFL way. Mond is not far behind that. He ran more pro quarterback stuff than even Trevor Lawrence did at Clemson as far as just going through reads and doing that type of stuff.
You think he had more responsibility at the line?
I don't know if it's more responsibility at the line. I just saw I think there's more pro concepts in general to where he go like I talked about with Trevor Lawrence. A lot was like, hey, it's one-on-one, I'm going to throw the fade. Oh, one-on-one and I'll throw the back shoulder. Oh, it's one-on-one, let me throw the out route. And then it was with Trevor Lawrence, more of Trevor Lawrence stuff. Let me throw the bubble screen. Okay, the bubble screen. Ooh, they're getting antsy on the bubble screen. We're going to fake the bubble screen. Now I'm going to throw a hole shot up the right sideline. It's a lot of that. There's not as much of, I'm looking at 1 to my left and 2 down the middle and 3 just, to the right middle and then 4 across the field. No, when it comes to that, Wilson, Mac Jones, Kellen Mond did more of that than Trevor Lawrence. And I'm not worried. I've seen enough to know Trevor Lawrence can do it. Again, that's not a knock on Trevor Lawrence, just so everybody gets off my back.
I think you've done a good job of these last couple sessions of saying, I like Trevor Lawrence a lot. I just don't think he's the best one in the draft. Right. So I think we have kind of turned the corner from Mac Jones to Kellen Mond.
I hope so. Is there anything else? We can go back to it.
About Kellen Mond, from JK Takes. As an A&M fan, it was tough to watch Kellen at times, especially when it came to taking shots downfield. What makes him a potentially great NFL quarterback when he wasn't a great college quarterback?
Gosh, well, first off, this is where we get into evaluating quarterback. I don't watch film and go, Kellen Mond was turning down wide open bombs down the field. I actually go, holy crap, that wasn't really open. There was nothing there that I went, whoa, I'm watching these games and he's missing 50-yard posts down the middle every game. So that's not on Kellen Mond. That's on the coaches and whatever else. That's their fault. When those opportunities were there, damn, he stripes it. He really does. He throws the appropriate ball more times than not. So again, when I looked at the struggles of their offense, because I always go look at the worst games and things like that, right? When I looked at them in a lot of those games, I didn't come away going, Kellen Mond was the problem. Yeah, I know he went 11 for 34 against LSU.
What'd you see there?
Well, I saw probably 5, 6, 7 balls dropped that could have got it closer to 50%, where I go, and I'm not just saying oh, the guy got a finger on it, it's a drop. I'm talking drop. The ball hit him in the stomach. The ball was right in front of his face. So there was a few drops there. And then, listen, I know there's people in college football that think Jimbo Fisher's offense is predictable as hell. I've heard it too much. And then when I turn on games like LSU and I see LSU versus other opponents and going, they don't run this defense, but here they are against A&M, and they're doubling this guy or doubling that guy or, in some zone blitz, and they've all gone to one area. There was a lot of plays where I go, well, where do you want Kellen Mond to throw the football? Again, that's where I get into, it's like the old Patrick Mahomes TCU game. Did you watch the TCU game? I did. And what the did you expect from him? I don't know. When nobody's open and you're not protected, it's hard. I don't know what to say. You're not going to have good stats. And to me, when I saw those type of games more than not, I look at it more as just like, no, the offense is failing. It's not Kellen Mond. And I would say even in some of the games where the stats are good, I go, holy that he makes some throws that nobody else in the, except the top guys can make some of these throws or make this offense happen. I can look at the Alabama game where he went 25 for 44, and he goes 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and I can say, we could put some other quarterbacks in there, and I promise you it ain't going to be 25 for 44. The incompletions are even good. That's what I like. The decision's not bad, and the ball's thrown in the appropriate spot in incompletions, right? To where, you might have a corner route, and, okay, he's got, the corner route, he thinks he might have it, but there's maybe a zone corner underneath. He puts it in a spot where, maybe the receiver could just get it, but the corner's not going to get it intercepted or do anything like that. So I don't look at those issues as being Kellen Mond issues, is what I'm saying.
You brought up the offense. I've heard the name Jimbo Fisher at least once from @BradleyClem3. Regarding Kellen Mond, it seems every quarterback Jimbo Fisher has goes in the first round. Jamarcus Russell, Christian Ponder, E.J. Manuel, Jameis Winston, but the only one with any success at all in the NFL is Winston. Is that a concern for you?
Not totally, no. It's not. Again, Jamarcus Russell had a litany of issues, right? So that means nothing. Ponder, hey, I'll sit there. Again, if I was in this business and I was just sitting out of football that year, I argued with a lot of people that year that were coaches in the NFL that were like, what do you see about Christian Ponder that makes you think he's a top 10 pick? So I never understood that at any point. Mm-hmm. Mond, to me, has, way more talent than a Ponder. Okay, Jamarcus Russell's talent was amazing, but it was just all arm strength, and it was very raw.
Right.
Mond has a true chance to be everything you want as an NFL quarterback. Compared to Jameis Winston, his arm's more powerful than Jameis Winston. His decision-making is better than Jameis Winston. There's no doubt about that. So I look at it from that standpoint, and I just look at too many positives of the decisions, the appropriate throws, and then the high-end talent. And again, all I go back to is, I wish we saw more backyard football and him moving around and doing things like that. And I wish he wouldn't be so tight with the football and he would just let it relax a little bit to let it flow and do things like that. But those are easy fixes. I don't have issues with that. And what was the main part of that question? What else did you want to
The main part, and I'm chasing down this
that's
question.
okay. Don't worry. But that's
okay.
The Jimbo Fisher, the quarterbacks, the history, all of that. No, I'm not necessarily concerned with that. I'm not.
Kyle Jaspers, and you kind of started to go down here. I'm just going to continue it.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the pod. Respect your process. You said the one thing you wish Kellen Mond did more was play backyard football.
Right.
What is more easily fixed in the NFL? Mond's creative ability and off-schedule throwing, or Justin Fields' mechanical issues?
Yeah, that to me, that's why I put Mond 4. And that's a great question, and that's what I broke it down to, basically. It's easier to fix Mond's issues. Mond's issues are a good coach here in the NFL is going to be able to, hey, 1, 2, 3, all right, get out. You're too good of an athlete. In fact, early on in his career, you might just go, hey, I want you to go 1 to 2, and they're not open. Get out and move and make something happen. He throws the ball at an elite level on the run. I mean, it's elite. Everything he does throwing, Paul, is elite to me. It really is. Let alone, unlike a Jameis Winston and those other things we talked about, when the game gets ugly, he doesn't force it. He plays within himself. Like that game we talked about at LSU. I thought one of the great positives was it was ugly, but he wasn't going to I can't take it anymore. I need to throw this one. I need to fit a big play in here for my draft highlight tape. No, he just, okay, it's going to be ugly today. We're going to have to gut it out. And won the football game, in the SEC with a tough schedule. But it is easier to fix the scrambling and doing that than it is to try to get a guy who's been doing something one way his whole life to now fix that. That takes more time. It's more of a risky fix altogether. Mm-hmm. And let alone, not on top of that, he's not nearly the decision maker Mond is either. So that it's like a double whammy. With Fields, you got, the mechanical issues, all right, But then that goes into, hey, it's a lot of like, look at the first guy. Oh, and then he looks to run. He's almost too backyardy at times. And if he sits within the pocket and goes through reads, it's definitely not as clean as Mond either. It can, when he does that, there's times where I go, whoa, don't do that, or whoa, that's a risky decision. And Mond has the advantages in those scenarios as well.
Last week you said that the guy in front of him, Mac Jones, you'd be comfortable with him going in the top 10?
Yeah.
You think he should?
Yeah.
Not asking for a team or a specific spot. Right. Where do you think Mond with that talent belongs in the first round?
I'm anywhere the 10s to the 20s. You know, I just go through like this, like just at a base level. I'm way more excited to see what I see with this guy than I do Daniel Jones. I'm more excited than what I saw from Tua last year.
For sure.
I'm more excited than what I saw from Dwayne Haskins a few years ago. So from that standpoint, you know, I look at it, and I told you before, I think a lot of some of the things I like the way his mechanics are, there's a little Colin Kaepernick style to that. Hey, listen, I'm not trying to get anything into the politics or anything like that.
With the motion?
Yeah, a little bit of the motion, except I think he's a more diverse thrower than Kaepernick was coming out. Kaepernick only had like 1 or 2 clubs. It was the rifle, and then it was like he had a 3-iron. It was all. This kid has all the clubs to go along with it. But you know, to me, this is the guy that slips the Dak Prescott of the world. This is the guy that I'm not going to make a mistake on again. That I'm pissed that I didn't scout myself the right way with Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
That's, to me, this is who we're going to miss on, where I'm going to sit here, and if I didn't make him this, I'd go, you know, I saw all these things, but I bought into the narratives out there on the news, and this people saying that and this. And no, this is the guy that's, you know, the diamond in the rough this year that people are sleeping on, that I go, he's NFL ready, and he has the NFL talent to go along with it.
Hey, Pete, how about a team between 15 and 20 that might be in the quarterback game?
Here,
Just throw one out. Yeah. 19, Washington. 20, Chicago.
This is where he's different. Now, this is...
Chicago at 20 is really interesting just because they're in the whole Russell Wilson thing right now.
Right.
Be a tough trade for him to pull off.
Right.
I'm going to guess he'd be there at 20.
He might be. You know, he might be. Listen, I don't know. I might be the only guy that sees it this way. Yeah. We'll see where we go here. You know? But you look at like the
24 Steelers.
The Bears, the Steelers, okay, maybe. Yeah. This is where, you know, I look at a team like Washington, and again, they're going to have to do their homework and meet this kid and do all of that. But this is where, like, we don't expect them to, like, be in the Super Bowl this year. They do need a quarterback. This kid's mature with the way he plays the position. He could go in there and he could play Alex Smith type ball where he just, hey, don't make a mistake. We got an awesome defense. When he's open, you throw a rifle in there. We like that. Right.
Too easy.
You know, too easy.
Okay, here's one for you.
The Patriots, I do think he'd fit some of what the Patriots want to do.
Yeah.
I do. Again, I think he could run some of that, what they want to do, that Cam Newton stuff maybe with the way that's built because he's athletic.
Yeah.
And I do think he can go through reads and be a pinpoint thrower for the Patriots. I do. I don't know if they feel that way or if they'd want to go that route, but
Here's a what if.
Yeah.
What if at 12, San Francisco? What if John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan saying, we are taking a quarterback at 12? Top 3 are off the board. So Mac Jones goes in the top 10. They're sitting there at 12. And your top 3 are not available. Mond at 12?
I wouldn't be crazy. I don't think that's crazy. I don't. I know. I don't. And I think he'd fit the Shanahan.
What if Kyle called and said, God, should I do this?
I think he fits the Shanahan system. I think he's got everything that Kyle would want.
Yeah.
I do. You know, again, I see touch. I see, you know, anticipation. I see phenomenal throws with no room in the pocket. I'm talking like, he can do some of the Zach Wilson stuff to where, like, there's a throw. He throws a post in the North Carolina game at the end of the year. There's a post. He's 30 yards down the field. He's got no room to throw it. It's barely about to come open. And he kind of just, like, with people around him, and puts the ball in a spot where the guy can go get it. There's so many of those throws down the middle of the field, outside the numbers, that are in tight windows where I just go, man, that was perfect, let alone, like I said, he can really, really throw it and step on the gas. But, yeah, I wouldn't I got no problem with that. I think this guy's being really overlooked.
Yeah.
And we'll see where this goes.
We could have an entire Kellen Mond
I'm excited to see where this conversation
Yeah.
goes with this guy.
Well, for today, it's going to go to your fifth quarterback, Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Vish Kumaran says, it feels like Justin Fields is similar to your evaluation of Sam Darnold back in 2018. From the standpoint of struggles in the pocket, has mechanical issues, but is still a surefire first-round pick. Is that fair?
Yes, he's more raw with some of the throwing and stuff like that, though, within the pocket. And I know this person's obviously been listening, because one of my things with Sam Darnold was he was great with backyard football. I didn't always love him when it was just like, hey, stand in the pocket and throw that 25-yard, crossing route with some authority and put it on the money. That's when he would be off a little bit. He was actually better when he was moving around and on the run and shuffling up in the pocket and doing those type of things. He's really good that way. But no, Fields' issues are greater than that. They are. Fields' issues can really scare me as a thrower at times.
What would you say his number one issue is?
Well, just, the overall accuracy of the football at times. It's less than what Sam Darnold's was and what I was explaining back then. Now, he's a better athlete, and we talked about that, and he has real size. But as we mentioned a few times in the last podcast when we broke this down a little bit, you can't really take anything for granted as far as a throw or a completion with Justin Fields. When he's on his game, it looks pretty, and you go, wow, that's really good. But like what we talked about, there's just too many easy throws, should be slam dunk completions where it's not even close to being a completion. So that's what scares me, let alone, like I said, it's been a little bit of a one read and run type of quarterback play from him, and that's where it's less than Sam Darnold. I really look at Fields as being like someone you would want, I think, somewhere between the 20s and 32s. I would want him, like I talked about a little, in a position where he could sit behind somebody for a year. That's where I did bring up Pittsburgh with Big Ben.
Yeah, Slow Runner has a question that's similar to that. What's an ideal team or system for Fields to land with in order to overcome these drawbacks?
Yeah, any place that just he doesn't have to be thrust in and expected to carry the team with his right arm or decision making. That and because from everything I know, listen, I think this kid's capable of showing progress as a pocket passer and doing those things. Hey, he played at Ohio State. First guy was open a lot. They throw to a lot of open spaces. They kind of just protect and say, hey, you figure it out. I don't really know if he knows pass protections like I talked about. There's too many times where I saw certain blitzes and he didn't know he was hot until he saw, whoa, the guy's 3 feet from me and nobody blocked him. I better try to find a way to get the ball out of it. He's raw that way. So you'd want him in that type of scenario, at least in my opinion. That's why I say Pittsburgh, where it's like, okay, we're coming to the end with Big Ben. He can learn from Big Ben and how you approach the NFL season and maybe fix some of those, physical issues as far as the technique issues and become a more polished passer.
Ariane Khan carries this point. How easily can his issues, like the ones that caused him to be a bad short pass thrower, be fixed?
They can be fixed. It's going to take tremendous reps and repetition. It's not the kind of thing where you're just going to go, this is where, to me, like, knowing the guy and the pro day are going to be really big. I want to see at the pro day, where I'm going to move you around. I'm going to wear you out a little bit. I want to see if you could stay within these mechanics. Because, you could probably cheat them and fool people for 45 or 50 throws if that's all you're thinking about. But you start to get them tired, get them worn out. Let me just see, is he working on these? Did he recognize them? And okay, now he's recognized them, and let me see how he puts it all together. He's a natural thrower, so he can fix these issues. But it's not something where I look at and I expect it just to be like gone and done with by the time training camp comes around.
What percentage, and we don't need any kind of names here, what percentage of buildings in the NFL, the 32, have a quarterback coach or an offensive coordinator who can really take someone like this with all this talent and experience and take him one standard deviation better with his mechanics?
Well, there's not a lot that are great in this department.
I have a number in my head. I'm going to write it down. I'm
single digits.
I'm just going to write it down. I'm going to give an order or a range, and see if it's what you hit.
really, like, for people that I think could really, like, stay on it, fix it, know what they're talking about, things like that, yeah, I think it's like 7, 8 guys in the whole league.
6 to 8.
Yeah, it's somewhere in that range.
Isn't that something?
Yes, because, again, the NFL, you got a lot of quarterback coaches and everything that really don't know how to throw. They're too prideful that now they have this job that they don't try to go out and ever really learn from anybody. Mm-hmm. They don't, because I'm supposed to be an NFL coach. I'm supposed to know. I don't want to tell anybody I don't know. Oh, well, I don't. That's what Bill Belichick's done all these years. He's just acted like he knows it all, and that's how he's got so good. That's where so many coaches, fail, in my opinion. You're not supposed to know everything. Learn more. And yes, there's lack of those guys in the NFL. I mean, I was around very few in my career. My dad will tell you the same thing. He only had like 2 coaches his whole career that could have told him anything about throwing the football.
Right.
Now there's some easy things where even a base level NFL quarterback coach who I might not be blown away with it is going to, now that you're in an NFL locker room and there's the 20-hour rule, there's some things here, like we talked about with his legs and his base, right? And just keeping it shoulder width apart, not letting his feet come close together, right? I mean, can I stand up, Kristen, at all, or do any of that? You think you could tilt that up today? All right. Well, either way, let me get my feet in the screen. But just like, hey, just a basic start for him is just to stay here, right? Just stay in this manner right here. Oh, look at this. Just stay here. And like you brought it up, the first thing you noticed, okay, that's the first thing a coach is going to have to do with Justin Fields, no matter where it is. Hey, when we throw, we want the feet right here all the time. Doesn't matter where you throw. It can't go, oh, now we're over here. Let me bring them back together and do this. Like, there's no way. There's way too many moving parts. You're never going to be able to. So that's a pretty fairly easy fix as long as people can stay on that. And then there's going to be the other aspect, of course, of tying the upper body together with it. First off, this gets too floppy like we talked about. And that's okay to have a flexible arm, but it can't just be all flexible arm by itself. At some point, there's got to be a little bit of the body to go along with it. If you're just locking the front shoulder in, which he will do at times, and he just locks it there and then just makes it all about this, you're not going to be consistent that way either. So You're going to have to it's going to be somebody that's going to have to stay on them and know what they're talking about a little bit to fix that issue.
As long as you're up, stay up.
Yeah.
I want to point out, too, that it's bad to be a long strider as it relates to the accuracy, because when you take that long stride, what happens? Your weight comes forward.
Exactly.
And the ball's
There's
back.
Too many moving parts.
It's difficult to control.
Quarterbacks' heads don't go like this as they throw the football. They don't do that, right? If you watch Rodgers or Brady, like, it might be this right there. Okay, it's about as far as it's going to go, right? But so many times they're, oh my gosh, somebody's right here in my pocket, and they got to go, huh. Mm-hmm. And you didn't move at all. You stayed there because you were on that back foot as you're talking about.
Right.
And now you have the ability to crank and torque, and let me just do it right like that. That's what makes, like, Zach Wilson. That's why I love him. That's why I like Rodgers and Mahomes. They can be here, and, people around them, and they can be, and they can both feet off the ground or do whatever throw they want. And in this draft, that's Zach Wilson. Mond can do that. Mac Jones is phenomenal. Trevor Lawrence, who does get a little too much body movement himself at times with his lower legs a little.
You said he stood up a little bit too.
He can be like this, where he's a back bender, right? And he just kind of falls out of it and does that. He still throws so many good balls, even though it's the wrong way at times. Mm-hmm. And he can be a little bit of a long strider. Not that his body goes really forward with it, but it is a long strider where there's a little bit of a moving part. But here's the thing where I go, like, Trevor Lawrence, I know, can fix it. Is like, I saw so many throws where Trevor Lawrence had like people in his face, and now he couldn't step into it and like use his longer motion. And he would do things the right way, and he could still throw it with incredible pace and power. And that, to me, shows me he can fix that pretty easily.
All right.
I don't know. We said a lot there.
You going to sit now?
Yeah, good.
Last week you were sweating after you said.
Not sweating today.
You all right today?
No hoodie today.
All right. Your 6th quarterback, Trey Lance.
Yeah.
At Taylor. What is Taylor's last name here? Taylor Plemons. Taylor Plemons. You know Taylor?
What is it? No, I don't.
Plemons.
No.
Trey Lance seems so alike to Josh Allen, but with better stats and a similar athletic profile. Why do you have them ranked so differently?
Right. Well, Josh Allen, Trey Lance's throwing is not up to Josh Allen. It's not.
Even close.
No. Josh Allen's arm is like one of those where you go, it was like watching Mahomes or Brett Favre for the first time. You were like, what? Is that serious, that throw? Like, holy cow. No, Trey Lance is a little bit more mechanical. He doesn't throw the ball as much and do any of that. I like Trey Lance. I like a lot of the traits he brings. There's no doubt. In fact, I like I've said last week, I think he's a little bit more of a consistent thrower than Justin Fields is. But still, it's one game. And it's really
one game in over a year.
One game in over a year,
Crazy.
and the year before that, I mean, you got games where he throws it 14, 15 times. It's just, and it's a very easy college offense where I go, listen, the NFL is not going to be like this.
And he is so much better than his competition so many times.
No doubt about it.
It's like watching the sixth grader at recess with the third graders.
There's no doubt.
Which is ultimately a compliment, but it's hard to evaluate.
Well, it is. And again, the throwing's the throwing. I know that. Again, if you're throwing in the tight windows or the ball popping out of your hand, I don't care what competition it is. I can see if it's real or not. The running is hard to gauge a little at times because he has got unbelievable acceleration and explosion. But you're also like, okay, that guy's never going to be even in a training camp in the NFL. Or couldn't even play for a major Division I college team, too. So it is a little tough that way. But to compare it to Josh Allen, I'm sorry. There's really no comparison there. Josh Allen had, 2 years there at the end where he almost came out the year, or was being talked about already the year before. Like, whoa, look at this guy. Look at some of the throws he's making, doing that type of stuff. He's 240 pounds. They were putting the whole game on him, and they were dropping back every throw and doing those type of things. And, I know it was a little crazy and raw. Well, they weren't good. I mean, they were the worst pass-protecting offensive line that year out of any of the major quarterbacks coming out. He had nobody talented at receiver. There wasn't people open. He played in horrible weather conditions. So that led to this narrative that, he was, of course, not accurate and all those type of things. Yeah, we've hit all of that. But, no, I can't say Trey Lance is on the level of a Josh Allen comparing them. But I like things about Trey Lance for sure.
Staying with Trey here, at Brandon B. Rose 1. I keep seeing Lance getting mocked to my Carolina Panthers. They picked 8th. Should I be concerned or excited?
They could be concerned. What? I mean, there's no way he's going to the Carolina Panthers at 8. There's no way. They're going to run the Joe Burrow offense with the guy who we haven't seen drop back and throw. That's who they're going to go with? Come on. That's not going to happen.
Where would you like to see him go?
Trey Lance.
Not a team, just a range.
Well, I don't think Trey Lance is going to end up going in the first round. Okay. I would be shocked. I just think the more these coaches dive into this, they're going to go, man, I like his talent. I like those things, and everything about it. But we can't expect him to play for us this year. I'm not sure if we're going to, we'll be lucky if he can play for us next year. We got to see where this goes. We don't really know. So that's to me is where he's a second round pick where we got to get him used to NFL life and going through reads and drop back pass offense and doing all that type of stuff.
In that case, Pittsburgh at 24.
I mean, maybe if you felt like that, exactly right. Yeah, I mean, it could be that type of scenario. But it's something like that where you want him to sit for a year, learn the position, learn the NFL, and go from there. I don't think it's going to be looked at like we talked about again with the top 3 guys for sure who I think are NFL ready right now.
Yeah.
No, this is not a guy that's NFL ready. This is a guy he's going to have to be groomed a little bit in all aspects of his play.
Jumping into the top 10, we already talked about the Jets at 2. I think you want them to take Zach Wilson. That would make perfect sense.
Right.
Carolina comes up a lot as well as a trigger point for quarterbacks that early. Who would you like to see end up at 8?
Well, that to me is where I do get into the Mac Jones conversation. Just because it makes too much sense. They are a team that wants to dice you up with a drop-back pass game. Here's a guy that's been coached, in a pretty damn good pro-style offense, and Nick Saban and Sarkisian looking all over him, right? To where I go, okay, that makes sense. He knows how to make decisions. He knows how to slide and make the throws in the pocket. That's what Carolina wants. Plus, he's got more talent than Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, he's a way better thrower. He's got even a stronger arm, everything about it.
Right.
So, to me, and with McCaffrey and, the Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, those 2 right there, and who knows who they get as a third receiver, Curtis Samuel's a free agent. I just go, that to me screams Mac Jones to be that guy to run that offense.
One more, and you kind of touched on this last week, but it comes up a lot with Trey Lance. This is from Richard in Tucson. Hey, Chris, do you have Trey Lance that low due to a lack of competition and because of a season that never happened?
No, it's not necessarily. The season that never happens is a real thing. Yeah, for a young guy who's just learning the position, to not having played the position for a year, that's not good. The most important thing is getting reps, getting out there, getting throwing, doing all those things. He wasn't even asked to do that when he was playing football 2 years ago. They wanted to run first. A lot of the times it was look at one guy and then you run. Or here's a play action pass and we've designed it just for this one guy to get open and now you throw to that one guy. So I'm more not necessarily concerned with the competition. Listen, I liked, Carson Wentz coming out and Josh Allen like we've talked about and those type of guys. So where I don't get totally obsessed with that. It's more about the style of play and just, the projection of he's not ready for the NFL and what's going to be expected of him there.
So that's a lot of bit on some of these guys in your top six.
Yeah.
Got a lot of responses about guys that are not listed in your top six.
Yep.
If you're ready to kind of talk about some more down the line kind of guys.
Yep.
Let's start with Kyle Trask. And Pete, I don't know how you read it, but I got more about Kyle Trask related to him being left off your top six than any of the other quarterbacks. At 11, Jordan Cole says, why has Trask fallen behind Mac Jones? To me, Trask has a better arm. Neither are very mobile, but Trask is bigger and seems to be able to stand in the pocket longer. Kind of like Big Ben, Trask also did more with less.
Trask didn't do more with less. Trask has Pitts, the other receiver going to be a first-round pick too. So it's you could say it's every bit as good, if not better, than Alabama this year.
Good points.
Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to hit on. His arm is not better than Mac Jones. It's not even on the same planet. They're not the same planet. I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but I'm going to be a jerk. I'm sorry. It's the throwing is all over the place. Yes, he's bigger. He's not even close to the athlete Mac Jones is. Kyle Trask doesn't move well. It's lumbering. It's a slow motion. Dan Mullins found 90 million ways to throw fades up the sidelines for Kyle Trask because that was the only throw he can consistently make. That's really all it was. They found more ways to run wheel routes, slot wheel, fade, double move, fade, so he could basically throw the ball to the same spot the whole season. That's really what they did. So it's not a good athlete. Obviously has the knee issue. It's way below NFL average arm. It's below NFL average accuracy. So none of that. Again, he's not on the level of Mac Jones.
This is the first quarterback we've talked about in two pods too.
Yeah.
Where you're kind of hoisting a red flag. Like the other guys, you've had to explain why Trevor Lawrence is 2 instead of 1 and why you have Mac up at 3, but it hasn't been mostly negative about any of the guys until now.
No, and I hate being negative,
You're
but
being
I
honest
just
about
know.
what you
Well,
see.
I know because I know that I got this question a lot. It's Florida. It's the hype machine. They won. How could it not be him? His stats were good. I don't know. I mean, first off, if it was that great, maybe they would have played him more in the bowl game and they wouldn't have been putting another guy in there. Okay, so that just tells you a little bit. All right, and I'm not trying to judge off of that too harshly. All right, but at the same time. No, I would be surprised if Kyle Trask gets picked in the first 4 rounds of the draft. No, I think he is a down-the-line draft prospect. There is nothing elite about his game, and you're being disrespectful to say that he's similar to Mac Jones.
Have you had anybody inside the league call and say, hey, what are you seeing here that I'm not? Because I kind of like this Trask
I
guy.
can't say that I have, no. And, again, it's still early. Like, even with some of the
coaches are just getting into it.
The coaches are really just getting it. I got more feedback from, scouts and things like that because they're already in it and they've been in it. Mm-hmm. Coaches, yes, are just starting to dive in. And even the ones that I got that wanted to get in the nitty-gritty, it was like, hey, I haven't really watched him yet. I've seen a little. What'd you think, right? So it wasn't like they were going like, hey, I disagree or I agree that he does this and this. Yeah, like you said, most teams have just gotten done with free agency and how they want to attack that, and now you're seeing the coaches start to dive into the draft.
Let's go to Stanford on Davis Mills
Yeah.
at Harry Gascioni. Might be from North Jersey, your neck of the woods there. I know he may not be a top 5 quarterback, but thoughts on Davis Mills from Stanford? He has a lot of intrigue around the league.
He's next. After my 6, I would say Davis Mills is next, right? Now, I don't think it's first round or even, I don't really look at it as second round. I think what Davis Mills is, he's really polished, like knows how to play the position, good, solid arm, but not, it's NFL average, maybe a little bit above that. It's really NFL average. He does have some size. He's a better athlete than I expected, or at least what I saw on TV a little last year. But, yeah, to me, he's more of a middle-round pick by a team to go, hey, this guy could be a really good backup for a long time. And you know what? If we formulate the right thing around him, I don't know, he could maybe be our starter one day. That's to me what he is along that range. So I really like him, but I think like after the first 6, he's the next guy. But unlike the first 6, who all have elite traits, like they all have something elite about their game where I go, that's elite enough to me to go, I think they're in the first round talent conversation. I don't think he has that. And that's where I think he's kind of that third or fourth round type of guy.
Let's go to your old school Texas.
Yeah.
Sam Ehlinger or Ehlinger?
Ehlinger. Yes, right.
I've heard both.
I hope I'm right. I think I'm right.
I would say the hard G or J sound too.
Yeah,
okay, Sam
I
Ehlinger.
think I'm right.
Alex Hill asked, can you explain the lack of buzz for Sam Ehlinger?
Well, he's great college quarterback. Scrappy, tough. His running's not going to translate to the NFL. It's not that special. I mean, if he runs and lowers his shoulder the way he did in college football in the Big 12, he's not going to last long because he's not a real big guy. Now, to me, I look at him as more of a, again, I think it's going to be a later in the draft type of guy to where, maybe a team like Baltimore maybe wants a guy like that who can, he can run the ball a little bit. If the guy's open, he'll hit it. But the throwing is just less than. It's a slow delivery. It's a way below NFL average arm. And to me, yes, he's a down the line type of guy.
Wake Forest, Jamie Newman at Vago K says, I feel like this class can produce 2 starters between rounds 3 and 5. Maybe Newman from Wake Forest?
Newman has some high-end talent. Now, there's a few things that, first off, I don't know. I haven't – it sounded like – he lost the job at Georgia, right, and transferred to go to Wake Forest. And then Wake Forest said, you're going to have to compete to get the job back again. And he said, the hell with it, I'm going to the NFL. I don't love that story right there.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't love that. He is built like a freak of nature, and I say that respectively. I mean, he is. As soon as you turn on the film, you go, whoa, look at those arms and that shoulder. And the running is real. His arm is, he could throw it through a wall when he but he could also miss the wall is what I worry about. It's just really raw that way. So he, to me, is a total project, from that standpoint. And again, I don't think that's a top 3 or 4 round type of guy. I think he's a guy that gets drafted maybe somewhere in rounds 5, 6, or 7, and you go, let's bring him in. And he can be our third stringer for now. And he's got some things about him that maybe he could be something 2 or 3 years from now. Right. That's, to me, the kind of guy Newman is. But his physical attributes do pop off the screen.
Sources say Ehlinger.
Ehlinger. It is Ehlinger.
Yeah.
I choked, yes.
So, Pete, thank you.
Sammy the Bull. That's what he is. He was. I got more respect for that kid.
Played hard, right?
Played tough, clutch.
Agreed.
I loved watching him.
Under the heading of other 2021 quarterbacks, this is from at Anthony Rufos. Do you have a James Morgan, a.k.a. a guy who is a sleeper on your radar with other elite traits or tantalizing aspects to his game?
Right. That's good. I like that. That's a real listener. You're right. James Morgan had some elite traits last year where when you saw the throwing, you went, whoa, okay. Again, that's the kind of guy where, Pete, where did James Morgan get drafted last year? 5th round, something like that? 4th round, right?
4th.
That's the kind of guy you take in the 4th round. To me, it's the guy where you go, wait, at worst he could be a backup, but yet there's something here where I go, maybe we could really catch something special here, right? I don't know if I see that guy right now. I don't know if I do. You know, I talked about Davis Mills, but I know what he is. He's going to be a guy that's going to run an offense and take what's there to be had and do those type of things. You know, after that, you get into Ian Book, who, again, I like Ian Book. He's well-schooled, played at Notre Dame, throws spirals, got control of the football, got a pretty good arm. I think he's the next guy in the conversation. You know, let me see, Felipe Franks out of Arkansas.
Was it Florida? Then yeah.
Right.
Then
He's
Arkansas,
got,
yeah.
you know, to me, that's maybe another guy. Like, I would go Davis Mills, Ian Book, Felipe Franks. Those are the guys that I expect to come off after the board, I think, after those main guys. And you know, there's still some down-the-line guys I need to look at. I haven't gotten through like 20 deep. I think I'm like 15 deep or something like that.
I have kids to pay attention to.
Well, yeah, and I got to start moving on to other positions in the draft too. So I will go back and look at some other guys later down the line. But to me, those are the guys that jumped off as compared to the Ehlinger or, you know, the Buechele guy at SMU. Who else am I missing? Yeah, when we talked about Kyle Trask and all of that. But I look at those three as being next. Like Felipe Franks, it's slow delivery. It's an average arm, but he is big, and he's a pretty good athlete.
Big dude. Yeah.
He's a pretty good athlete. I was shocked to see for 6'6" for him to move the way he did. I think those are the next guys in line for me.
I have some others that would fall under the miscellaneous title, but I think we're going to talk some quarterbacks and
we're going to hit some Wednesday. Yeah.
So
okay. Cool.
Might give you a rest for a couple days.
Okay. And Big Phil, we'll have him on. I know Big Phil's just kind of diving into the college quarterbacks and stuff like that. I don't know how far in he is. I know he had watched Trevor Lawrence really closely.
I would love to have him watch Mac.
Yeah, he is. He's going to watch them all. He's kind of just getting started himself here.
Yeah.
So, we'll see where it goes. But we'll have him on Wednesday. We hit everything today. If you got more questions, keep hitting me up. Certainly, we're just going to continue to dive more and more into these topics. We're going to get into free agency here, too, as we go. And then we're going to dive back into the draft just to give everybody a little precursor to where this is all going. I think, like Pete, right, we're going to start hitting wide receiver rankings and things like that towards the end of the month.
Yeah.
And then we'll start to go position by position, and we'll hit them that way. But you the man. Thanks for driving the ship today.
Absolutely.
Hope everybody was happy there. Hope I didn't get too pissed or pissy about some of those questions.
We don't want everybody too happy.
I know, I'm just trying to give answers and squash bad narratives and things like that. But hope everybody enjoyed the pod. We'll see you Wednesday. Be good. Peace out. Yo, what's up? Come on, man. Subscribe on YouTube to Chris Sims Unbuttoned Podcast. I need you. Please hit the subscribe button, please.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.